Good morning, it's Barbara. It is a bright and beautiful sunny day today. Finally, we have been very cloudy and dreary the last few days, so this is a treat. Good morning, it's Barbara. Thank you for joining me for coffee. Look what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Malin sweater. Ta-da! It is jumping the queue because it is way not quite done yet. I don't know, am I going to have to wear an undershirt with that? I guess we shall see. I still have my stitch markers in. Obviously, I haven't sewn in any ends, and it has not been blocked. But I bound it off last night, so I thought I would show it to you. Jumping the queue. I'm going to have to zhuzh this collar in blocking, I think. I may be sad that I am a couple inches short, because that might bug me the way that it folds down. But we'll see. If it ends up being a little more of a cowl neck, which is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a little bit more like this. That might work. Here we go. What do you think? Yeah, I'm not so sure about that lace all the way down the front, though, I have to tell you. Might have to wear a little camisole under this sweater. Didn't think about that. I never had to worry about it with my other one because I always wear something under it. Anyway, good morning. Here's my exciting news. I'm having trouble getting you set right. So there you go. So I have some stitch markers to remove. And it needs to be blocked. I think it'll loosen up a tad when it's blocked. But it's not too tight. It's just, you know, it's a slim fit. I guess my other one is a little bit too. It's hard to tell though because like I said, I always wear it under something, over something. So anyway, I'm very happy with it. Very happy with it. But I am going to work on that collar. That collar is, I am going to work on it being more of a cowl, as just not quite as tight. And I think it'll lay correctly. I hope so. Anyway, good morning. So, well, it won't surprise you to learn that my plan is pretty directly, I'm going to Joann's and I am going to buy some black and white yarn because my next project is going to be the Wednesday vest. It turns out it was Aquila who talked about the Wednesday vest. Dora and I watched her latest podcast the other day and she was talking about looking for the pattern to make one for Hazel. That's where I heard it. I knew I heard it somewhere. Just can't remember where. Quilla, the Lefty Knitter podcast, wherein I watched. And I'm very excited. Dennis printed me out the pattern. And yeah, and it's a square design. It's got a V-neck in the front, but it's two pieces square, and then you put them together and then knit an cuff around the armhole, essentially, and you know, and a neckline. So I will be doing that. It'll be in Tarja. It took me a while to figure out the size of the yarn because the pattern is free, but it's written for a kit. So it just tells you the yarn that's in the kit. So I had to go look up the yarn, and it wasn't super clear. I had to look up the yarn in Ravelry because when I went to look at the yarn in their website, I couldn't figure out the size of yarn. It was not a good website. Not a good website. Anyway, according to the pattern description in Ravelry, it takes a bulky yarn. I can find a nice bulky black and white, two different skeins, of yarn. If they're big skeins, I might get 4, 2 of each. Although I am making the smallest size, obviously, because my Isabel is not giant in the least. She's a small 4th grader. I think she's on the smaller side. My guess is she's on the smaller side. Anyway, but it's supposed to be square. It's not supposed to be fitted. So I think she will really like it. And I'm very excited to think about knitting it. And if I see a pink and purple while I'm there, I will get those, and I will make one for Sammy too, in pink and purple. Because I suspect that it'll go really quickly. I didn't notice the needle size, but I'm sure it's quite large. It's right over there. I can look. Yeah, it's a US 11. I guess I better make sure I have an 11 before I do much. I know I have a 10.5. Because one of my kits goes up to 10.5. One of my interchangeable kits goes up to 10.5 at least. So, but I will check that. So it says in the kit, so that's a pattern for a kit. The kit was $95, which I thought was a little pricey. They didn't have different prices for different sizes, so it goes from small to extra large. So I guess when you do a small, you'll have yarn left over. So $95 seemed pricey for a vest, but it includes the needle. It includes, excuse me, everything. My morning hiccups. So the kit, when you buy it, it includes the yarn, the needle, the knitting needle, the needle to sew in the ends. I mean, it's a complete kit. So I guess I've seen that before. This is We Are the Knitters, it's called. So it's like if you're giving it to somebody who, you know, everything they need is right in that box, which is kind of fun. I kind of like that. But I can knit it using a smaller needle. I can use a 10.5 if I have to, because I'm sure if I end up with a smaller vest than small, it'll still be big for Isabel, so it'll be fine. Anyway, so I knit yesterday, obviously. I had the tiniest little bit of yarn left over. I'm very happy with the length of this sweater, and so I did not need one more skein, and that was nice. Aura and I watched more British baking on our Roku last night. We have one more episode to go in season 2. Now, season 2 is different than season 1. A couple of big differences. They stopped traveling around the country. They didn't do that in season 2. They're in one place, and you can see the picture of it from a drone, and it's on an estate, like a stately house. But you can see that there's a town right next to it. They're not out in the middle of nowhere like they are in the later series, but they are parked in on the grounds of a stately home, which of course I haven't paid attention to and don't know where it is. So there aren't people looking in the windows, like the sides of the tent while they're working. They're not in the middle of a crowd. So that's a difference. The other thing is they now announce a star baker. So they now announce the person they consider to be the winner of the episode. And that they didn't do that in season 1. So it's starting to feel much more like the later versions. They, really refined it. The other thing that was interesting is the second challenge. There are 3 challenges in British baking. The first one and the last one, the bakers can practice at home. But the one in the middle, they call the technical challenge, and it's a surprise, and they're given a very no instructions, really. They're just giving the barest minimum, and they're supposed to know using their baking technique and their experience how to make whatever the thing is. And it's judged blind, so that the judges don't know whose is whose when they judge it. But in the first season, the judges were walking around, at least in the first couple episodes, the judges were walking around during the making of the technical baking. Now, I don't remember that they were doing that toward the end of that season, so they might have already stopped doing that. But say season 2, the judges are completely out of the tent the whole time. Maisie's right out the door next to me barking, and so Pearl is helping her. Anyway, by season 2, they're out of the tent completely during the making of the technical challenge. So right now, the biggest difference in season 2, at the end of season 2, and the much later seasons which I started, the biggest difference is sort of the level of the requirements that they're expected to bake. In the later seasons, these people are expected to bake the most unbelievable confections that are, you know, professional bakers would take days to make. They're supposed to make in 5 hours. I mean, crazy, amazing stuff. That's not happening in these first 2 seasons. They're expected to make beautiful things, but they're expected to make beautiful things that a home baker might actually make for a party or an event. In the later seasons, the things that they make are, but don't get me wrong, Aura's still sitting there saying, oh, I can't believe they're asking them to do that. Oh, who would do that? Oh, you know, but Aura is not a baker, never was a baker. Her mother was a baker, Grandma was a baker, but Aura was never a baker. Aura never liked to cook. Aura had to cook 3 meals a day for 75 years. And the day she didn't have to do that anymore was the day she quit cooking. Yeah. I'm not sure if she's actually cooked anything since Garland died. As you can well imagine, she's very happy to be living here and having her son feed her. As am I. Very happy to be living here and having her son feed me. So anyway, but she just sits there. What? Nobody would do that. Why would they? Oh, that's too hard, you know. She's really cute. So anyway, that's my roundup of the early days of British baking show. I won't be shocked if next season is one that I've actually seen. Because apparently by season 3 it was on PBS. And I think I've seen all the PBS ones. So I'll let you know. But these are people that I've never seen before. And so we're going to see the finale tonight. Then I found on my Roku Columbo. Columbo was one of Christie's series. We, you know, the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree. I have my series that I watch. You know, I have DVDs of all the Poirots. I have the Miss Marples. I have Elementary. You know, I have things that I like to watch, and I rewatch them. You know, they're sort of comfort TV. Columbo is one of Christie's. And which shouldn't surprise you. She did that sleuth series of embroideries on her floss tube, and Columbo was one of hers. So anyway, but Roku has Columbo. So I started watching. I finished my sweater to a little mini binge of Columbo's, starting with season 1. And season 1 is Jack Cassidy is the bad guy in season 1 of Columbo, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg. I'm like, Steven Spielberg? Yep, directed by Steven Spielberg. Episode 1 of Columbo, of the series, was directed by Steven Spielberg. I thought that was interesting. So there you go. That's the full rundown on my day yesterday. The cleaning team came. They were lovely. They did a great job. It took about 3 hours for 3 people to clean our house, which tells you I'm not sure why I don't do it and how dirty it was. But it looks great now. So I got it straightened out in the morning, and then they came, and the dogs went to day camp and had a wonderful time. I won't be surprised if they're a little quieter today than usual, because they do wear themselves out. Luckily, they were not outside yesterday. They have a giant warehousey kind of building at the kennel, and that's where the dogs run around when it's a bad weather. So Maisie did not come home all covered in mud. I was a little afraid. She just had her hair done on Friday. But they had a good time, and they were glad to be home. And we were glad to have them. So my plan today is to go, I have to go to the grocery store, and I'm going to go to Joann's and stop at the grocery store on the way home. And I'm going to do that this morning. Before dog walk. Get myself started. I will double check my my needle situation just to make sure, but I know I have a 10.5, and I'm sure that will do fine, because like I said, if I use a smaller needle, it'll be a little bit denser fabric, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, and it'll be a little smaller, and I'm sure Isabella's smaller than the size small, so that won't be a problem. So that's my plan today. I will show you tomorrow how far I have gotten. I do have some mailing to get together. I haven't mailed my prizes yet. I'm the worst. And so I need to do that. And I need to knit, which was so nice. Look what I knit. I don't know about that lace in the front, though. I didn't think about that. Oh well. If it bugs me, first of all, when I'm home, it won't bug me at all. And if I'm wearing it out, I'll just go wear a bra. You know, I can do that. That could solve my problem. So that's that. The only thing about the Roku, which I'm enjoying, is it has commercials. And I haven't watched commercial television in a decade, at least, because I record everything. I record everything. My TiVo, I haven't hit a button and it'll fast forward through all the commercials. And I mean, even on the rare occasion where I am watching a sporting event, like the Olympics or something like that, I don't watch it live. I record it and I come in after about an hour and watch it. And then I can fast forward through the commercials. I can't hit the button if it's still recording, but I can fast forward. So not being able to fast forward through the commercials is a bit of a drag, although I'm being very quick on the mute button, let me tell you. Oh, the other thing is these commercials, if you click OK, it'll come to your house. So it's like interactive commercials. So like if you want it, you can just click OK and you bought it. I'm like, that's dangerous. I wonder if you can disable that. If you had kids in the house, or if Ora had the clicker and she was trying to do something, I could imagine her clicking an OK by accident and ending up with, you know, infant formula. We can give it to the food bank, but you know. Anyway, seems dangerous to me. Still not coming up quite the rich tone that it is. I told Dennis, well, his office is really dark, so I went and modeled it for him last night in his office, and he, you know, I said, oh, but it's pink, because pink isn't his color. He's like, not very pink, it looks more burgundy. Well, in his office it looked burgundy. I'm like, it's a little fuchsia. I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, goodbye. Please take good care of yourselves. Please, please, stay safe and stay sane.